I talk about this with friends all the time. I was like, man, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't have left
Really?
Masters. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
I have a kill shot. I don't do it.
Wow.
It was like an arm tackle. I was so disappointed in myself.
Wow.
Dad really wasn't truly in the picture at all. I would see him every once in a while, or I'd get a phone call. Even before I told Nate, that's kind of how I was feeling at that moment after. Just kind of the guilt and the shame was starting to crawl back in. My relationship with the Lord began in 6th grade. So I wasn't born into a Christian household. So I walked over to CJ and I asked him to pray with me. And yeah, from then on, it was a done deal.
Maybe the biggest part of my story is just my family.
I moved to Vero Beach for flight school.
Playing football, especially, I would get invited to a lot of parties.
During this time, he's like full weight on this knife trying to plunge it in there.
Like knowing the Lord brings me so much peace and joy and just confidence.
So I held this dude as he took his last breath, and it triggered this question. It said, what is this life for?
Yo, 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 what's up, party people? Welcome to another episode of Thrive and Dive. Thriving in life as we dive into deeper conversations. The purpose of this show is to help you thrive, and I do that by having people on that I feel are thriving in life, and they either share their testimonies or areas of expertise. And I have a special friend on today, the one and only Jordan Girton.
Howdy, what's going on?
How are you doing today, Jordan?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great. Even better now that you're on the show. And actually, Jordan is not a stranger to Thrive and Dive. Back on my old YouTube channel, he made an appearance, but this is your first time on the new channel. So how are you feeling being on the new channel of Thrive and Dive?
You know, happy to be here. The last time we shot together was pretty fun, so I'm excited for this.
Yes, round 2. And now you're media trained and you're an expert podcaster. And
I'm media trained.
Media trained, yes. But Jordan, super thankful for you. And a little bit of backstory for those who don't know Jordan. He and I have known each other for a good while. Back when you were in 6th grade, I think is the first time I met you, Jordan. We went to the same school. Shout out to Masters Academy. I believe I was a junior when you were a 6th grader. And we ran cross country together at Masters Academy. We were part of the youth group together. Shout out to 12 Student Ministries, Pastor Adam Rentes, and all the shenanigans that happened there. And I just love to hear your perspective, Jordan, of those first interactions of us getting to know each other. What do you remember from those times?
Wow. Ooh, I gotta go back.
They were way back in the core memories.
Go way back. They were definitely good. They were always lighthearted. They were always fun. Me and you being, sports people growing up, just kind of being able to bond over sports and competing and everything like that. School side wise, they were always fun like that. And then I'd say youth side, going to youth together. Maybe not so much interaction just because, you were older.
The age difference, yeah.
The age difference. But I think, and we talked about this last time, the middle school retreat to Lake Aurora.
Yes.
That was a core memory for me, and I think that's a core memory for us.
Yeah,
our friendship.
100%. Yeah.
And just kind of building just doing life together.
Yeah.
From me being so young and you just kind of taking me under your wing.
Yeah.
Those are kind of my memories.
I love it, man. Yeah. No, looking back on the past, our relationship was definitely something special to me as I was, growing in my walk with the Lord, right? I wasn't perfect at the time. As an 11th grader, I was figuring things out. But I think there's power in doing discipleship even at a young age. And I've seen you do this as well when you were in high school, and then you do it now as a young adult. But investing into someone younger than you, even when you yourself don't have life figured out.
Yeah.
I didn't have life figured out as an 11th grader, but the opportunity to do cross country with you, sports is an awesome medium to build friendships with people and to pour into people. So having that side of things helped when it came to the youth group side of things, right? We had a commonality, a bridge, if you will, in cross country. And then at youth group, I had the opportunity to be on the leadership team as a high schooler. And, our job, if you will, was to, invest in the middle schoolers. And since I already knew you, that became easy. We got along. I think we shared moments after youth group where we would meet in Pastor Adam's office or something. I can't remember it specifically, but you'd ask questions or I'd share stuff. I don't even remember what we talked about, but I just remember having some like one-on-one discipleship time. which was such a, man, honestly, is kind of the seeds that were sown in my life to a life of ministry, if you will, having that opportunity to walk with you and having that moment at that middle school retreat. Well, it was special. It was a core moment in my high school career, and honestly, the launch of the life of ministry I now live. So
Yeah.
that's special, super special to me, Jordan. And then, coming back from college, and you were in 10th grade, I believe, which was around the age that I met you, which is crazy to think about. And just, wow, sometimes you invest in people and then you go your separate ways. Like, I remember investing in a kid named Indy. Shout out to Indy if you're watching this. And I never saw him again. I actually ran into him maybe a year ago, and we were able to reconnect. And I was one of the first people, you and him, I think, were the first people I ever poured into. And you go your separate ways, and you hope that they're doing good,
Yeah.
But for our relationship, we've known each other since then, for such a long time. So it's such a treat to, obviously the Lord does all the work in our lives, but to kind of sow seeds and then come back and see that, the plant grew.
Yeah.
And seeing that in you is such a treat, coming back, straight out of college. And then, and that's been such a long time ago, because you're well past 10th grade now. That's 5 years ago now.
Don't remind me.
So yeah. Dark times. So yeah, dude, it's so cool. So when I say thrive and dive, I have people on that are thriving in life. I definitely see you, Jordan, as someone who is thriving in life. Just to see your walk with the Lord, see your relationship with people that you pour into, your relationship with your sister, your cousins. It's just really cool to see. So that's what I'd love for us to talk about today. It's just, your story, Jordan. But before that, maybe for those who don't know you at all, have no context, let's just do a little Spark Notes version before we get into the deeper side of the pool. Tell us a little bit, about yourself. What are you currently doing with your free time, your work time, any fun hobbies, any information you think would be important for people to know before they jump into your full story.
For sure. All right. So I'd say to start, I've grown up in Vero my whole life, born and raised. Some of my hobbies that I enjoy doing consist of working out, being outside, whether that's going for a walk, going for a run, water activities like swimming. I'm a big gamer.
Yeah, let's go.
And then I'd recently, now since I'm, old enough to do it, I recently got into shooting. So
Wow.
Marksmanship. And
Yeah, you were
stuff.
telling me about that the other week, and I'm like, oh, I did not know that about Jordan.
Yeah.
You're a man's man in so many different ways. Yeah. What's your gaming console of choice?
Right now I have a PlayStation, but growing up I was a huge Xbox person.
Oh, when did you convert to PlayStation?
Just this past year.
Okay.
Strictly for the story games that they had.
Nice. And what's your bread and butter these days?
Right now it is a game called Rainbow Six Siege.
Rainbow Siege?
Yeah, Rainbow Six Siege.
Six Siege.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Let's go. Right on. So a man with diverse interests, from hanging outside to video gamer, because usually it's those are two opposites. You got someone who's very outdoorsy, and you got the gamer who's always locked into the basement.
Yeah.
You do both. And you minister to students, and you work 30, 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
You're a busy guy, and you're at the gym. That's what's up.
Late nights.
Late nights. There you go. I love it, Jordan. Sweet. So I want to hear. I've heard versions of your story already, Jordan, but man, I just can't wait to hear it again, and maybe even hear some details or ask some questions I didn't think to ask you the first time I had you on. And we'll just see where it goes from there.
For sure.
Yeah. So Vero Beach, you've lived here all your life. You were born here, right?
Yep.
So talk to me about that upbringing, man. What was it like the first years as Jordan Girton?
So first years, they're pretty normal. Grew up with my mom and my stepfather from a young age. Dad really wasn't truly in the picture at all. I would see him every once in a while, or I'd get a phone call every once in a while. And, it was tough to handle at a young age. Just, talking to him and, making plans and all of that. And then it just never happened. But my mom and my stepdad did a good job of, making sure that I was good and, just continuing to be a happy child. Went to a preschool over in Gifford called Head Start. And then I went to Vero Beach Elementary, and I mean, was in athletics the whole time pretty much.
What was your sport of choice back in the elementary days?
Basketball.
Basketball.
Yeah.
Hooping, man.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So, but I mean, I kept myself busy. I was always happy though. I never really, was discouraged or, had issues like anger wise or, just being all over the place. I was pretty even keel person when I was young.
Yeah. At what age did you start to like notice when it came to your dad making plans and then they never happened? When did it start to maybe discourage you, or you realize this is actually disappointing? How old were you when you first felt that?
Ooh, I'm going to say maybe like 4th grade, 5th grade. So
Wow.
like 10, 11.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was I can kind of remember it. It was a random night, and he called me, had a conversation with him, and we were just making plans and stuff. It was just good to hear his voice and good to know that he was reaching out to me. But right after I hung up, I immediately started crying just because I knew it wasn't going to happen, and it, wasn't true. But as I got older and, kind of was just doing my own thing and was progressing in life, going into middle school after those last 2 years in elementary school, building a relationship with my friends that I have now and building a relationship with God, it kind of was able to kind of move that anger, frustration, and sadness out of my heart and just replace it.
Yeah. So did you grow up with your mom and stepfather in a house of faith and going to church, or when did your relationship with the Lord start to begin?
My relationship with the Lord began in 6th grade. So I wasn't born into a Christian household or by any means. My Aunt Brandy, who was a big influence on me coming to Masters, and she was kind of the one who gave me the opportunity to even pursue that, which I'm thankful that it happened. And I would say that my 6th grade summer, when I first started coming here, if you remember CJ.
Yeah, Madeira?
It was one of his last nights that he was here before he was going on to do whatever he was doing.
Yeah.
He was actually the one who prayed with me to get saved.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Wait, so the summer preceding your first year at Masters Academy, or you had your first year at Masters Academy and there was a summer after that?
Preceding. Before
Wow.
I started the school year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And was your aunt, Brandy, the one who got you to youth group, or what brought you through the door to youth group?
Yeah, she was my ride.
She was your ride.
Because at the time,
you're coming with me.
At the time, she was a leader here.
Yes, a volunteer. Yep.
Yeah, so on Wednesday nights, I'd go spend the night at her house.
Wow. That's so cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember the moment? Was CJ the one preaching that night, and then he led you in that prayer afterwards? What kind of, man?
I think Adam was preaching that night, but he kind of just left it open for us to, respond how we wanted to. And he was telling everybody that CJ was, going to be around if you wanted to pray and if you felt like God was calling you to, get saved.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think I was actually standing next to Dean or around Dean. I just remember him being there. I don't know. I just was sitting there, and the tug on my heart was so heavy, and I was fighting it. I'm not gonna lie. I was fighting it because I was like, I don't know if I want to do this, but I couldn't let it just keep on going. So I walked over to CJ and I asked him to pray with me. And from then on, it was a done deal.
Wow, that's so cool, dude. I did not know that aspect of your story. So, man, talk to me now about, you just entered your relationship with Christ, right? This is brand new to you. Then you go to a private school that you're taking Bible every day, right? That's probably different compared to the public school you're at. So talk to me about those middle school years, bro.
They were fun. I thoroughly enjoyed my middle school years. 6th grade, playing all different kinds of sports, running cross country, playing basketball, playing flag football for all 3 years. It was definitely a good time. I, made those core connections in my class because if you know and you're from Masters, your class is less than 20 people to a whole grade. But it was definitely different being around the same people every single day.
Sure.
I enjoyed that aspect because I didn't have to try to remember everybody's name. I just did.
Right.
But yeah, middle school was it was super fun. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
That's awesome. Talk to me about your relationship with the Lord in those middle school years. Was it something when you had that moment with CJ, received Christ as your Savior? Was it like you're on fire, like I want to learn, I want to grow, or was it kind of like, oh, that's cool, and then kind of just did your thing? When was, I guess, the next defining moment in your walk with the Lord?
So throughout middle school, I was still new to it, so I was just trying to learn what I could and try and understand what it is that He did for us. I will say that I did struggle in middle school just because I'm new to it.
Sure.
I'm not fully understanding of what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing. But it was a good experience now looking back because I learned a lot from those mess ups that I had. And it was cool to have a breakthrough at whatever point in time it was in middle school. Just taking a next step in my faith was, it was cool to see. I'd say the next breakthrough I had was, I want to say probably high school, like early high school, probably like 9th grade.
Yeah. Take us to high school years.
9th grade. I think this is, I forget what year we went to Indiana.
Oh, for IYC?
Yeah, I think it was like 20.
I think it was, I think it was it was the summer between your 9th and 10th grade year.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was actually on that trip as well as an intern. That was my first trip as a youth leader.
Yeah.
It was a crazy trip. It was awesome. That drive was so long.
Yeah.
Shout out if you went to IYC Indianapolis. But talk to me about that trip, man.
That trip I had a breakthrough. I kind of came to grips with myself in terms of what I was allowing myself to do, and even knowing that it was a sin, just continuing to do that. I've shared this before, but I've struggled with pornography. Unfortunately, I exposed myself to it at a really young age, and it kind of carried over into my high school years, and it never really goes away, but back then it really had control over me. And I remember going up to Nate and me and him making a pact, just abstaining from it and doing my absolute best to just keep my eyes on the Lord and not think about those things or let the devil have a foothold in that place in my life. And even now when a thought comes into my mind, I just think back on that and that pact that I made with Nate about, just staying away from it, running from it, fleeing from it. It was important to me to hear that in those years of my life.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. And I want you to, if you don't mind, unpack a little bit for me, because I have a similar story. IYC, my sophomore year in Nashville, is when I confessed my struggles with pornography. And that was such a defining moment for me. It was a stronghold that was on me. And when I was able to confess it to my version of Nate, which was Adam, I guess, at the time, but it was more of a collective confession. It wasn't just a one-on-one thing. And just the freedom I felt confessing it, right? It's not something I had to hold on to anymore. And you realize other people are going through the same thing. It's like, oh, it's like, it's not just me. I thought I was the only one struggling with this thing. And that really was a defining moment for me, confessing that. And then the last 2 years of my high school career were, not that I was on fire, but I felt like I was walking with the Holy Spirit, and I felt so free. The freedom from sin, the bondage of sin, didn't have its grip on me anymore. So talk to me about, man, how did you, if you can remember this far back, like, man, what was the moment? I know for me, it was a message that I forget what her name was, but she was talking about purity or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I gotta talk about this. It's one of these things like I was going into the trip knowing that it was a problem. Like I knew what I was doing was wrong, but like that moment in that message, I'm like, oh, I gotta talk about this. And you know, like you don't want to talk about it. All right, you would rather just keep it hidden in the dark. What provided you with the courage to share that with Nate or whoever else you shared with, and what spurred you to do that?
I think it was just I don't know, just going through that trip. I knew that, kind of similar to what you were just saying. I knew that it was a problem, but I was too afraid to go to somebody and talk to them about it. But I think after being on that trip for a couple of days, Lord was just telling me to, confess it to somebody.
Yeah.
Because it was really eating me up, constantly thinking like, oh, I'm disappointing God. I'm letting him down every time I do this. And it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I forget what night it was because
it's a blur now.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah.
But, I kind of had to just humble myself. Just realize that whatever reaction or whatever I get from this, it's going to be okay because at least it's out there and said, and I can finally get help from it.
Yeah.
And once I said it and we kind of just were talking, it was like a big weight was lifted off of my shoulders. I didn't have to feel ashamed of my actions in the past, but I can also understand and realize that now that I've said this and I have somebody who I can be accountable to and who can be accountable to me, cannot do this anymore. And I was doing well. And then, after a while, the camp high.
Yeah, sure. It wears off a little bit.
Camp high wears off. And, haven't been in my word, haven't been to church or whatever. Those thoughts start to creep back in. And after a while, they just became too much and it fell back into that cycle, which was unfortunate for me, the time that it happened. And, I was just disappointed. And again, like even before I told Nate, that's kind of how I was feeling at that moment after. Just kind of the guilt and the shame was starting to crawl back in. And, I was ashamed of myself and, because I felt like a liar, Yeah. That was probably one of the most crushing things, was just feeling like a liar after, I told somebody that I wasn't going to do it or do my best not to do it. But I was young and I realize now that I'm going to fall short and I can't let myself falling short be the reason that I don't grow.
Right. Yes.
So,
yes.
But yeah, that's kind of how that went.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing all that. Now, within your high school career, if I remember correctly, you made a transition in schooling. You were at Masters Academy until your sophomore or junior year. When did you switch over to Vero Beach High School?
Like right before the end of my sophomore year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you don't mind, so talk to me about that. Cause I never went to public school. I think you know my story. I was homeschooled until high school, and then I went to Masters Academy, small Christian school that we've already mentioned. So I've never had the experience of like, man, wow, at a big public school. And how did that solidify your faith, or maybe make it harder to live according to your faith, making that switch over?
So before I go into that, I talk about this with friends all the time. I was like, man, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't have left Masters.
Really? Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's the people that I've met there, it was good. Don't get me wrong. Like, Vero was fun. Had a good time there, but at the end of the day, I probably wish I would have just stuck it out at Masters. I think I would have gotten more out of it. But yeah, my transition to Vero, so the whole reason that I transferred to Vero, because I wanted to play football in college, and I figured that the best possible chance that I had was switching to a public school.
Yeah, bigger school.
Yeah, switching to a bigger school and trying to play. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, that didn't really play out how I wanted to.
Mm.
But now that the reason that I went there is out of the way, me going there, it definitely was a challenge. It was hard. Not being around Christ-minded people. It was difficult. You know, I was kind of just like the quiet kid, I would say. I didn't really talk to anybody unless it was people I knew from church or, you know, friends from childhood that I remember.
Yeah.
I didn't really talk to anybody, kind of just was to myself, you know, just try not to be in any drama or any mess.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It was kind of easy to
Stay
do.
in your lane.
Yeah, it was easy to do if you weren't looking for it. But I would say, you know, being on the football team there and just being in that atmosphere, it was hard. You know, I kind of had to make sure that I was showing up to church, you know, showing up to youth group, just to be accountable to that and, you know, not fall into, you know, I guess the lifestyle or we'll just leave it at lifestyle, the lifestyle that Vero can kind of rub off on you.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's not necessarily like a bad thing, but there are some aspects to going to a public school that I wouldn't recommend picking up. So,
yeah.
But I mean, all in all, I mean, I don't know. I just don't know about those last 2 years at Vero. It just didn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
Me going through that. Can't really blame anybody.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how it played, and you know, I learned from it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of all I really have on how that experience went.
Sure. Well, I'm impressed, Jordan, because again, I haven't been through the public school experience, but I always admired people like you, the Keens, Preston and Peyton, you know, Sean, and some of these other guys who are at Vero Beach High School, and how they stayed 10 toes down on what they believed in, right? They didn't let the culture of the public sphere influence their walk with the Lord. Sure, there were struggles. No one's perfect, whatever, but on a macro level, you guys, you know, you showed up to church. You were influential in the youth group. Man, your grade specifically, because I got to be your small group leader for a couple of years, transformed, in my opinion, that youth group. Because if you remember when I was in high school, it was literally just Masters Academy kids at the youth group. It was like a Masters Academy youth group, which it's not bad necessarily, but we want to reach people that don't have the Masters Academy experience where they're hearing the Bible every day. We want to reach the lost, right? So to see, honestly, the majority of the youth group kids were Vero Beach High School kids, which was so cool. So I applaud you in that sense, despite however you felt about those couple of years and the lows, and in that regard. Looking back, super proud of you in that regard, and just walking out your faith. You know, people can put on a show at a smaller school and get by, and it's not really taking their faith. But when I see someone go to a public school and they're still walking out with the Lord, and there's no chapel, there's no Bible, it just shows the authenticity of their faith. So you had that going for you. Excuse me. Excuse me. So I want to circle back to, if you don't mind me asking. So one of the main reasons you switched over to Vero Beach High School was for more exposure to, more competitive football program, bigger school, Vero Beach High School, the Fighting Indians, Billy Livingfields, or whatever. It's a big deal, right? Playing for Vero. Talk to me, if you don't mind, about, man, you had these plans and it didn't work out. And then how did the Lord work in and through you through that, I guess, disappointment, because it didn't work out the way you were maybe initially intending?
Yeah. So my junior year going in, I was there at the end of end of my sophomore year to play spring ball. That's why I left so late in the year. Played spring ball, enjoyed that, and I was put on the JV team just because I'm new, didn't know the plays at all. So, of course, put me on JV. Totally fine with that.
Yeah.
So at that time, I had switched positions to play receiver, and that's what I was, doing up until through summer, through fall camp, and then into the regular season. But after our first game, they put me on defense at safety, something I've never done in my life. Brand new. And me personally, I'll look at you guys when I say this. When I played, I was not a defensive guy. I didn't have that mindset of, hitting people. I could get hit all day long, no problem. That's fine. But I just wasn't that kind of person to deliver the blow. And it showed. It showed on.
Yeah.
Like, I would make tackles and stuff, but if there was like a big hit coming up, I remember like our last game of that season, I'm playing back, and there's a kid running a poster out right to me. The quarterback just airmails it. I have a kill shot. I don't do it.
Wow.
It was like an arm tackle. I was so disappointed in myself.
Wow. Why is that?
I don't know. Honestly, I give props to defensive guys because you just have to have a certain mentality when you play defense. And
wow.
that wasn't one that I had / groomed.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Like, I was played offense my whole life. So
right.
I wasn't.
Interesting. Yeah. I never played football, but yeah, defense, offense, so different. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't a necessity to know how to have that killer instinct to tackle.
Right.
But anyways, so yeah, played receiver one game, went to safety the rest of the season. And, I was disappointed. I was like, man, I came here, wanted to, because I originally went there, I wanted to play quarterback, but there were so many quarterbacks out there. I was like, I just want to play. So I'll switch to receiver.
Yeah.
And, it was frustrating that my junior year wasn't what I expected. The locker room wasn't what I expected either. But, I just learned to stay consistent to the team and, show up every day.
Yeah.
And give my best effort. And then fast forward to my senior year. My senior year, I did not play. And that was probably one of the biggest blows to maybe, I'm going to say ego, but not really. But it was a big blow.
Yeah, 100%. As an athlete,
Yeah.
this is what you've been training for. And no, I totally get it, man. In college, when I sat the bench my last 2 years, I'm like, yeah, this kind of stinks. I feel like I had a little identity crisis. So no, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah.
But I think, again, the consistency, showing up every single day from summer workouts all the way till November, 6 months of my life showing up and not, being able to do anything, not being able to go out on the field, just go to practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Practice. That was, if I could put one word on my senior year of football, it would just be practice. Now,
my question for you with that, did you accept were you able to get past your ego? Like, it hurts. And we're like, all right, for me, like the Lord kind of told me, James, you're riding the bench, but be the best support player possible. Make those starters the best starters they can be. So I went all in. I didn't slack on my practicing. So my question for you is, did you feel like, just a temptation just not to put in the full work, or did you consistently grind it out?
There were definitely days where I was like, I don't even know why I'm out here right now. I know I'm not going to get in, and I'm not going to do anything. So why am I here? But excuse me. There were definitely, those are few and far between. Most of the time, I just showed up and practiced, how I needed to, so I could, help out our team, help out the starters.
Yeah.
I remember during those practices, they would send over the guys who were lower on the depth chart over to the first team defense, like all the starters, and we would run the opposite team's plays against the first team defense. And kind of give them a look of how it's going to be on Friday night.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a problem with it by, I'd say, probably the middle of the season. It just kind of just set in like, all right, this is where you're at. You're not, I don't want to quit because no. Yeah. That's not an option.
Yeah. No.
Not going to quit.
Love it.
So we're just going to ride it out. Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was good and bad. Bad because I didn't get to play. I didn't get to, try and chase that dream.
Yeah.
But also good in the sense of the character building that I had.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it was getting too big of a head playing sports.
Maybe.
So
yeah.
I needed to, get checked one time.
Sure. The Lord has a way of doing that. Because I know for me, the Lord exposed an idol that was on my heart, right? My identity, my security was found in my ability to play sports. I like when people touch that I was good, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And, here I thought I was using it to glorify God. Like, God, I'm going to glorify you through soccer. And then when I realized that I wasn't as good as I thought I was, then I felt like an identity crisis. The Lord exposed, like, no, that was your idol. Worship me, you dummy, right? So I don't know if that was the same for you. But yeah, it builds character, man. The fact, you didn't quit, you showed up even when you didn't feel like it. And the character is going to serve you in the long run way more than opportunities to play football, because that's so short term. So
Yeah, 100%.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it though.
Yeah.
Just being in that locker room with all the guys, hanging out, having fun after practices, before practices, Saturday mornings. Oh, goodness gracious. I do not miss those at all. Going to work out in the morning right after a game.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
It's like,
Dang.
Goodness
Like
gracious.
no days off over there. That's crazy. Yeah. Vero Beach High School football is basically like college level football when it comes to the rigorous schedule, it seems like. Wow. Okay. So switching gears, Jordan, man, finished out, graduated from Vero Beach High School Fighting Indians, and talk to us now about what the Lord had for you post high school.
So when I graduated in 2021, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I took a gap year. I was just working.
That's when you interned with Pathway students, right? During that gap year? Yeah, that's awesome.
Wasn't it? Yes. Yeah.
But you were super influential, by the way. You rocked that internship, dude.
That was probably that was super fun.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the best years of
Wow.
my life.
Yeah.
That intern year. Oh my goodness. Just being here and like contributing to the youth and making plans and executing those plans. It was super fun. And just being more involved than just being a participant.
Right.
Like actually sharing the word or leading games and making sure everything's running right.
Yeah.
I just loved all the aspects of it.
Yeah. And
Even the lunch meetings.
The lunch meetings.
the once a month lunch meetings
Oh,
that we used to have.
Wait, with the whole staff or just you?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We're snoozing in the back. That's funny. No, but I remember because our programming we do at Pathway Students is Summer Olympics, and I remember that summer because that was the ending of your internship. That was when Summer Olympics like took off. Like the year prior was the first year, and it was just like it was cool. But that second year, I think David and Tessa were both all three interning, and you guys were really stepped up the Summer Olympic programming. Yeah. And I just remember, wow, this is really cool. And you were rocking on the microphone, and you guys built like so many like stuff, like the picture frame thing. I don't even like the banners and everything. It was so much more than it was in the year prior. So man, I'm happy to hear you were just thriving in that, bro, because you were definitely making the youth group thrive. So that's super cool.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, we put a lot of work into Summer Olympics that year. I remember the meeting for it. We were in there with Nate. We're going over things, and me, David, and Tessa are spouting off ideas. And he hit us with his famous line, "This is your baby. Take it.
Your baby.
Like,
Go, my child."
Yeah, he's like, "This is all your idea. You run with it."
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So he was our funding.
Yeah.
That's what he was.
Your funding. He
was
gave
our
you the
funding.
money. He was the dad who gave you the check.
Yeah. But we ran with it 100%. That was the first year we introduced a photo booth.
Yep.
We had the banners, like you were saying, made those David cut the foam into the logo.
Yeah.
And we painted them the team colors. We had their team names on banners and their colors. We had shout out to Josiah for helping us with the lights.
True. Yep.
We had all those lights.
The light show
in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. And emceeing for games and just introducing the teams and stuff. It was a great experience. But
that's awesome.
I definitely missed that. I remember telling everybody, I was like, the second year is going to be the best year of Summer Olympics.
Yeah.
And granted, it wasn't as big as it is now, like student wise.
Yeah.
I think energy wise,
yeah,
it was up there.
Supreme. And I think it built momentum for the Summer Olympics to follow. Like people are like remembered that, like, whoa, that was a defining moment in the Summer Olympic experience.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
all 7 weeks. Longest 7 weeks ever. It's only once a week, but like week 4. Oh my
Took it out
gosh,
of
I'm
you.
so tired.
Yeah, 100%. Man, goodness. No, I feel that, bro. Yeah, even when I first came on staff with Pathway students, one of my favorite memories was the Summer Olympics. You know, it's such a cool moment and experience. So, and I was bummed because I missed the majority of that Summer Olympics you interned because I was in New York working at a camp, but I was there for like the first 3 weeks and it was so cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So that gap year, yeah, talk to us now about, you know, what the Lord is doing in your current life and then post that gap year, which was 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after that gap year, so 21. Okay, so after that gap year, I think I was working at the job that I'm currently at, Sunshine Furniture, furniture moving company. You know, you order it, we deliver it, like that. But 2023, this is kind of when the new journey is beginning for me. I went to EMT school at the beginning of 2023, so January.
Yeah.
Course is only 3 months, but it's a lot packed into those 3 months. So, or maybe 4 months because I did the night class because I had to make money while I was in school.
Oh, dang. Look at you, man.
Yeah.
Full time.
So, 3 times a week for 4 months going at night. Graduated from that in April. And, in between that time of me just starting and me graduating from that class per se, it was a lot of, medical terminology and probably one of my favorite parts, but there was some sacrifice with it, was ride times. So for those of you who don't know what ride times are, if you're in a EMT or paramedic program, a part of your course is doing ride times, which is just going to a fire station and basically shadowing them for, ours was 12 hours. I don't know how long the paramedic side is, but ours was 12 hours. So from 8 in the morning to 8 at night, I would go to a fire station and basically shadow them and live with them, for lack of better terms.
Yeah.
So I would go out on calls on the ambulance. I would assist the paramedics with whatever they needed, and not in return, but they would also help me with, learning new skills that I needed to learn and just being a helping hand with whatever questions I had. And I think going on those ride times pushed me to want to pursue what I'm trying to do now, which is become a firefighter paramedic. That kind of solidified it for me. Just being of service, that was a big thing throughout my whole life, and being humble enough to do that. So graduated from EMT in April, took the summer off because there's no classes that I wanted to do in the summer. And then the fall of 2023, I went to fire school.
Dun, dun, dun. I've heard brutal stories about this experience.
Yeah, fire school is definitely not for the weak. I will say that. I would say it's more so, like, if you're in good shape, it's fine. Unfortunately, I was not in the best of shape when I first started, but a lot of it is mental. Like, it's mental stress combined with the physical stress. But I enjoyed that too. It was, I think it was another 4 months or 16 weeks, however long that is. Another 4 months of just, being around your class, because it's just one class and you're with each other throughout the whole entire day. You're all getting beat down together. You're all
taking the blows together, really bonding over that.
No, literally. Like, one person will mess up, the whole class pays for it.
Oh, man.
And,
Did you have any people in that class drop out?
Yeah. So if you ever have watched the last time I was on here, I talked about that Hell Friday.
Okay. Yeah.
We had, I think, 6 people drop out of our class.
Wow. Until Friday.
Yeah, just off of that one day. 'Cause, everyone's fresh and everyone was new.
Yeah.
And it was our first time in our gear.
Yep.
And they just put us through the ringer that whole day.
Weeding out the weak.
Pretty much. like going through a confined space maze
Yeah.
at the end of the day after we've been getting beat on all day was probably one of the more like mind stressing things that I've ever done.
Wow.
Like just physically exhausted, and then I got to go through this maze in the dark, blindfolded with loud
God.
blaring music with my partner who's might be claustrophobic. No, there's no way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But kind of like masters, being in the fire academy, they're similar. I built relationships with those people because I was going through the fire with them every single day.
Became like family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, whether it was everyone trying to stay awake in the classroom because we've been in the classroom for 5 hours and
Man.
we're super tired.
Yeah.
Or we're outside learning new skills or, you know, doing drills together, whatever it may be, getting smoked together.
Yeah.
There's
There's not many people can say they've been smoked together. That's quite the experience.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, I would do it again. 100%.
Wow.
It was rough.
Built different.
Yeah, it was rough the first half, but the second half was super fun.
Yeah.
We did all the fun stuff. We went, you know, I've rappelled. I've cut a car open in the junkyard with Jaws of Life, spreaders and stuff like that. That was super fun.
Wow.
Did a wildland day. It was a part of our curriculum. It wasn't the most super exciting, but it was a cool day.
A wildland day? What's that mean?
Like wildland firefighting.
Oh, okay.
You get your wildland cert while you're in fire school.
Oh, okay.
So we had to, or we get to go out and practice the things that we've been learning about.
Gotcha.
But that was a cool day too. Definitely stressing the tests and whether it's classroom tests or it's just the tests that we run outside, like we actually do.
Yeah.
Oof, those are rough.
Man, it's kind of crazy because you think all the physical labor you have to go through for fire school, and then you still got to take tests. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Which could be harder than the actual physical part.
Yeah,
remembering all that information.
It's a lot of learning.
Yeah.
A lot of learning.
Yeah.
I think the stressors that got to me were our midterms, and then our finals, and then our state finals. Those, the three big ones.
Yeah.
The whole year you learn how to run this drill. And midterm, if you don't make it, you're done.
Just like that, you're done.
It's a lot of pressure.
Wow. All that work just done.
You have to pass your midterm if you want to continue on. At least I'm pretty sure that's how it went. And I remember, unfortunately, some of our classmates didn't make it on that midterm, and they didn't get to continue on with us. And then you would learn the second half of the big three, which was like our hose pool, deploying a ladder, and then search and rescue. And then once you learn the big three, you would move on to different tasks per se. It's just different skills that you had to do, like breaking into a window or detecting hidden fire in a ceiling or in a wall, and you would go through the steps with an instructor and lead them step by step through each objective. And finals, you throw all that together. So a lot of pressure in a span of 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just a 15-minute test.
Really?
Pretty much.
Wow.
But
15 minutes of just mental anticipation and craziness.
And it's crazy because you're in gear the whole time. So you have your air pack on, you're fully kitted out.
Yeah.
And you have to stay calm, move fast, but smooth at the same time. And remember what you've been learning for the past
recall.
3 months.
It's crazy. It's in 15 minutes. You're gonna make or break it in 15 minutes after spending hours, days of doing this stuff. That's just crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy because
it's like executing a heist. It's like you gotta do all this work, and then the heist itself might be super short.
Yeah, but thankfully passed that, and I also passed my state.
Let's go.
And then I had to take another test.
Another one after all that?
Yeah, it was like the written state test.
Okay.
So I took the written state test, passed that on my second try.
Okay.
First time didn't go too well. Then I took it the second time, passed it.
Solid.
But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Currently in the application process. So just, filling those out, doing the courses that I need to do, and hopefully soon I will be able to call myself a firefighter.
That's awesome.
And then once I do that, I do plan on going to paramedic school.
Okay.
So I know there's a registration for a place that I want to do it at.
Nice.
At the end of May.
Okay.
So hopefully I can get into that class and then start my paramedic journey.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. Well, I'm excited for you, and I can't wait to see what the Lord does through your firefighting career, man. And I want to close our time with this, and I think we actually mentioned it last time you were on and on my previous channel. Let's close out with talking about, man, you have such a big heart, Jordan. I've got to witness that in the student ministry, and the way you are friends with people and you care for people. How has that contributed to your desire to be a firefighter? What's the correlation?
Ooh. I'd say just the way that I grew up, helping my mom out, also being the oldest in my family, kind of just serving them how I can, my younger sister, my younger brother being an example. I think being an example is a way of being a servant, because you're showing them the way, and, you're taking on I'd say dangerous territory, so they can, know to avoid that, learn from my mistakes. And I kind of just grew up serving, like we talked about in high school, I served here. But just growing up, I served my grandparents. I'd help, go cut the grass for me, or can you do this for me? You know? And I do it with a glad heart. When I got into my preteens and my teens, there was a little attitude, like, all right, why do I gotta do this? But for the most part, it was, sure, no problem. And I think it's easy. It comes easy to me to want to help people.
Yeah.
And I think this is a great field for me to do that. Sure, it's a lot of pressure because, it's no joke when you go out, and, I want to be ready for that, and I want to be a light on people's worst days when, they don't see anything good coming out of that day or whatnot.
Yeah.
Just being there to serve them and help them to get better.
Yeah.
And, take care of them.
Yeah.
So, I think just the way that I grew up is the correlation to where I am now.
That's awesome. I think you've been sculpted for this, and you're walking in your calling, which is so cool. Because, you have a big heart. You exhibit servant leadership. You're always dependable in every instance, and super thankful for that, bro. So thanks for doing all that. And thanks for sharing your story, dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was great having you on, man. And hope you guys were encouraged by Jordan's story, inspired by it. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it. And if you enjoy the content here on Thrive and Dive, be sure to subscribe to the channel because this is Thrive and Dive, thriving in life as we dive into deeper conversations. Have a great rest of your day.